They forgot the nights you cried yourself to sleep, but karma didn't. They moved on like your pain meant nothing, but the universe keeps perfect records. There's something terrifying about heartbreak that nobody talks about. Not the moment they leave, not the betrayal, not even the silence after the last goodbye. It's the feeling that your suffering disappeared unnoticed, as if the tears you cried dissolved into the darkness with nobody to witness them. But what if I told you that pain is never truly ignored? Some wounds don't scream for revenge, they simply wait for balance. And maybe that's why the people who break good hearts often look happy at first. They laugh louder, post brighter pictures, pretend they've escaped the consequences of what they've done. Meanwhile, you sit alone wondering why kindness brought you suffering while cruelty walked away untouched. But life has strange timing. The universe doesn't rush its lessons. Karma is not anger. Karma is memory. It remembers the promises they broke, the loyalty they took for granted, the nights you questioned your worth because someone made you feel unlovable. And one day, often when you least expect it, life quietly places people in front of the same pain they once caused others. Not because the universe is cruel, but because every soul must eventually understand the weight of the tears it created. Tonight, we're going to talk about the silent ways karma works after heartbreak, and why the pain you survived may become the lesson someone else can never escape. Part 1. The universe never ignores a genuine heart. There's a reason betrayal cuts deeper when your intentions were pure. When someone lies to a selfish person, it hurts. But when someone betrays a loyal heart, a heart that loved honestly, forgave endlessly and stayed through storms, the damage reaches somewhere spiritual. It changes the way you trust the world. Suddenly you question your value. You replay conversations at 2 a.m., wondering what you did wrong. But here's the painful truth most people learn too late. Good hearts blame themselves for crimes committed against them. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And many people trapped in heartbreak unknowingly punish themselves for another person's lack of character. You start believing your love was too much, too emotional, too caring, too forgiving. But genuine love is never the problem. The real tragedy is that this world often rewards coldness temporarily. The person who hurt you may appear unaffected. They may enter another relationship immediately. They may smile publicly while you privately collapse inside your own thoughts. And that imbalance creates bitterness. You begin asking dangerous questions. Why do bad people seem happy? Why did I suffer for loving sincerely? But karma rarely arrives dramatically. It moves quietly, psychologically, spiritually. Sometimes the punishment is not losing money, status, or beauty. Sometimes the punishment is becoming the kind of person who can no longer feel real love. That is the hidden tragedy of those who destroy good hearts repeatedly. Every betrayal slowly disconnects them from genuine emotional intimacy. They become surrounded by attention, but starved of connection. Meanwhile, the person who suffered often becomes wiser, deeper, more emotionally aware. Your tears were not weakness. They were proof that your soul remained human in a world teaching people to become emotionally numb. And one day, the same empathy that caused your pain will become the reason someone truly treasures you. The universe has a strange way of protecting pure hearts after they've been broken. Part 2. Why karma makes people feel the same pain they once caused. At first, the person who hurt you seems untouched by consequences. They sleep peacefully while you stare at the ceiling, replaying every memory. They replace you quickly. They act as if your suffering was just another chapter they've already forgotten. And that silence can destroy a person emotionally, because deep down, every wounded heart secretly asks, "Did I mean anything at all?" But karma does not work on your timeline. It works on emotional awakening. Life has a mysterious way of placing people into situations where they finally experience the same loneliness they once created in someone else. Suddenly, the ignored become ignored. The betrayer becomes betrayed. The one who took love for granted meets someone who treats them as disposable. And in those moments, memory returns. Not as nostalgia, but as realization. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "No price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself." Yet many people spend years abandoning their conscience for temporary pleasure, validation, or ego. They chase excitement without understanding that every selfish action slowly shapes the reality they will eventually live inside. This is why some people look happy immediately after hurting someone, because consequences often arrive emotionally before they arrive physically. At first, ego protects them. They distract themselves with attention, entertainment, new relationships, social media validation. But eventually silence catches up, and when it does, they begin noticing patterns. Every relationship feels empty, every connection feels temporary, every conversation lacks depth. Because karma is not always an external punishment. Sometimes karma is becoming emotionally trapped inside the same emptiness you once caused another person to feel. And this is why healing matters, because if you remain obsessed with revenge, you unknowingly chain your future to the person who wounded you. But when you heal, grow, and rebuild your peace, something powerful happens. You stop needing karma to prove your worth. That is when life begins changing. Buddha taught, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Your healing is not surrender, it is liberation. The moment you stop chasing closure from the people who hurt you, you begin closing the wound yourself. And strangely, that is often when karma finally reaches them. Not because you wished suffering upon them, but because life eventually forces every soul to confront the emotional consequences of who they became. Part 3. The Silent Signs. Karma is already working in your favor. The problem is that heartbreak rarely feels like protection in the beginning. It feels like destruction. You lose sleep. Motivation disappears. Ordinary places suddenly become haunted by memories. Even silence becomes heavy because everything reminds you of what you lost. And during those moments, most people think karma has abandoned them. But what if the pain itself is evidence that your soul is being transformed? One of the quietest signs karma is working in your favor is this. The betrayal changed you, but it did not turn you cruel. That matters more than you realize, because pain has two paths. It can either deepen your wisdom or poison your heart. Many people who are hurt become emotionally cold, manipulative, distant. They begin treating others with the same carelessness they once hated. But some people choose differently. They become more conscious, more selective, more spiritually aware. They stop begging for love and start protecting their peace. That transformation is karma working through you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," and heartbreak reveals what truly lives inside someone. Some people carry darkness after pain, others carry depth. Another sign karma is shifting in your favor is emotional detachment. One day, without warning, you stop checking their social media. Their name no longer ruins your mood. The memories remain, but they no longer control your nervous system. That moment feels small, but spiritually, it is enormous. Because attachment is what keeps suffering alive. And once your peace no longer depends on someone returning, apologizing, or regretting losing you, you become emotionally free. Ironically, this is often when the people who hurt you begin feeling your absence most intensely, not because you chased them, but because your energy disappeared. Human beings often undervalue what feels permanent. They assume loyal people will always stay. They mistake patience for weakness. And only when the presence disappears do they realize what they destroyed. But by then, something inside you has changed. You no longer crave revenge. You crave alignment. You start understanding that some endings were necessary because the person you were becoming could not continue shrinking themselves to fit inside relationships built on inconsistency, disrespect, or emotional confusion. And perhaps the greatest sign karma is protecting you is this: the pain that once nearly broke you begins building the strongest version of yourself. Part 4. The final lesson karma teaches every broken heart. That day changes everything, because the deepest heartbreaks are never just about losing a person. They are about losing the illusion you built around them, the version of them you believed would protect your heart, the future you imagined in quiet moments, the emotional safety you thought was permanent. And when that illusion collapses, it feels like your entire identity collapses with it. But this is where karma teaches its final lesson. Not everyone who leaves your life is taking something from you. Some people leave because they can no longer accompany the person you are becoming. Pain matures the soul in ways comfort never can. Before heartbreak, many people love blindly. They ignore red flags. They over-explain disrespect. They confuse emotional inconsistency with passion. They abandon their intuition trying to keep relationships alive. But suffering sharpens awareness. Suddenly, you begin seeing people clearly, not by their promises, but by their patterns, not by their words, but by their energy. And that awareness becomes protection. Lao Tzu once said, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." Heartbreak forces you into that transformation. It strips away dependency, illusion, and emotional attachment until you finally meet yourself without distraction. That is why some people emerge from pain wiser than ever before, not because suffering is beautiful, but because truth was hidden inside it. And eventually, something unexpected happens. The person who once cried every night becomes emotionally unshakable. The person who begged to be loved begins choosing themselves first. The person who feared abandonment realizes they survived what they thought would destroy them. That realization is power, because once you understand you can survive heartbreak, people lose the ability to emotionally control you through rejection, silence, or inconsistency. And meanwhile, somewhere else in the world, the people who treated love carelessly continue repeating the same cycles, searching for peace in temporary distractions while wondering why every connection eventually feels empty. That is karma. Not always dramatic punishment, not instant revenge, but the quiet reality that every action shapes the emotional world a person must eventually live inside. So if your heart has been broken, remember this: your tears were never ignored. Every sleepless night, every silent breakdown, every moment you questioned your worth, it all carried meaning. Pain was not sent to destroy you, it was sent to awaken you. And perhaps the greatest revenge karma ever gives a wounded soul is transforming them into someone who no longer needs revenge at all. Because healing is the moment you realize your value never depended on the people who failed to see it. And the moment you truly understand that, you become free.